Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? I hope you all are fine at your places. Since you all know that we are doing chapter number 4, the market as a social institution, right? And as usual, I'm teaching you through PPT. And I wonder if I would teach you through the textbook, then I don't know. Will you be able to concentrate or focus in the class or not? But I think PPT was always the right option to teach you because books often become very, I would say, boring at times, but PPT is always fine. It always gives you the exact things that you want to study in your textbook, right? That's the reason I opted to study uh, or to teach all of you through PPTs, right? So here I go. I'm gonna start sharing my screen with all of you. And it needs a lot of hard work to prepare PPT. I could easily teach you through textbook, but then I have to make you that students, so that you find it easy to score good marks. When I'm saying good marks, then it's almost 90 plus marks. Remember that, almost 90 plus. I'm teaching you with that level. I'm teaching you uh, in such a way that I think you should all score at least if not less than definitely more than 19. When I'm saying 90 plus, remember that 90 plus means 91 and 90 plus also means 100, right? 90 plus can be anything. 90 plus 10 also, and 90 plus 1 also, right? So I'm expecting very good result from all of you because I'm putting a lot of hard work to teach you and preparing PPTs for all of you so that you can understand things easily and you don't feel like we have a lot of burden of this subject. I'm not gonna teach in that way, right? So I'm beginning to share the PPT. Okay, I'm sure you all understanding what I'm trying to make you understand. You have to realize what I'm actually telling you. Okay, so here I go, here I go, here we go, in fact. Yes. Look, I've got textbook also. These are the all those lessons in the form of PDF, but I always prefer to teach you book number one, book two. So I've got PPTs. And I hope you have got all these PPTs that I've already made. You have got PPT number chapter number second and the continuation form that I taught you regarding the chapter number second. So I'm sure you have got all these three that I'm selecting right now. Chapter number two continue, and then chapter number three, and now I'm teaching you chapter number four. Look, uh, when I taught you chapter number second, I actually made two PPTs out of that particular chapter. But now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just make one PPT for every chapter so that you find it clear, that one chapter is actually there in one PPT. So it's definitely going to be easy for you. Now I'm going to make just one PPT for one chapter, right? So that you don't find any kind of confusion. Okay. First chapter was made in two PPTs, but after that we're gonna just make, and I'm gonna send you PPTs in the form of in the form of one lesson, in the form of one PPT, right? So we are doing chapter number 4, right? So here we go. So market as a social institution, we understood the normal definition of a market, then we understood the social aspect and the economic aspect of the market. This is the difference, on number 3 slide, the difference between okay, I have to keep on checking again that am I really recording the lecture or not, because I have to really record it. Okay, so okay, now I'm sure you know the difference between sociological and economic perspective of market, and we understood the wealth of nation, the book that is written by Adam Smith. Okay, we understood that as well. And we understood the invisible hand by Adam Smith, in which he says that everyone is working for their own self-interest, but in satisfying or in fulfilling that self-interest, everyone is contributing to the success of market, everyone is contributing to the success of society as an ordered society. So that is kind of an unseen force. They're putting forth for their own interest, but the unseen force is actually there, that is helping to, to overall benefit or overall welfare of the society. And that is what Invisible Hand by Adam Smith is all about. Then we understood laissez-faire, and remember that laissez-faire concept always comes out free market. When market is free market, free market doesn't mean that we're gonna get everything free, nobody's going to charge us anything. That is not a free market. Free market means free from regulations of government, free from the restrictions of the government, free from any kind of interference of the government, right? That is what free market is all about, right? Government has actually given, the permission to the buyers and sellers that, look, deal in whatever way you want to deal, supply the products that people wants to have, and that is how supply and demand goes on, right? Someone which is there, which is really in the demand, is definitely going to come in the market. That's as simple as you can understand it. So laissez-faire, remember that it often comes in your exam. What is laissez-faire? So then you can say that laissez-faire concept comes out of free market, and laissez-faire means leave alone. Who is leaving alone? Government is leaving alone the buyers and sellers, that do market or do purchase and sale in whatever way you want to. This is what laissez-faire is all about. Then we understood the sociological perspective. This particular slide I'm talking about actually tells about the sociological perspective and economic perspective, but doesn't give that kind of example. But your textbook really have the example that is in the form of sociological perspective. So look, perspectives are not, they are not built or they are not formulated simply without common sense. They are not built with that way, right? There is always observation, there is always, testing, that there is always evidences. If we are saying something, there should always be a reason behind it. And how reason are going to come? Reason are going to come when researchers or sociologists or anthropologists means who study, the tribal society, different culture of the society. Anthropologists are those people. So we always say those things which have, certain evidence or certain I would say, who has come, Archita has come. So we always have, certain observations, and that's how we, connect things. Sociological perspectives is understood actually through the weekly market, right? What happens in Chhattisgarh state, remember that in Chhattisgarh state, there is a district, Bastar district, and in Bastar district or Bastar district, there is a village, Dohrai village, in which there used to be a market where people used to come and, sell things and buy things. Tribal people used to come there, non-tribal people used to come there, and they used to have a kind of interaction that Alfred Gell, I taught you in the last class that Alfred Gell was the person who did observation of this particular tribal, not tribal, but market, weekly market that used to be there in Dohrai village, right? So you can really add the example. If they ask you that, tell us the sociological perspective on market. Perspective means view. Tell us the sociological perspective or sociological view of market. When they will ask you in the exam, then you can really, add the example in the form of weekly market or weekly tribal market that used to be there in Dohrai village. You can really add one or two lines to actually refer what you are trying to tell them, right? So what happened, let me go to the next slide. So what happened? So observation, I told you that who has done the observation of this Dohrai weekly market? Alfred Gell did the observation, and he observed certain things in the market, and because of because of that observed things, he says that yes, this market doesn't only have economic perspective but sociological perspective as well, right? That's why we are understanding this chapter. Look, it's important to understand that what this chapter wants us to understand, right? That's the main point. Okay, so he did a lot of observation. He said that people used to come there. So what he said is that Alfred Gell, anthropologists are those people who study the culture. So who study the culture of, any kind of I would say institution, whether it's caste institution or tribal institution. So they do the observation of the villages and the culture that people have, how people used to arrange or organize their market and all those things. So what did he say? He said that according to Alfred Gell, the anthropologist who studied the Horai, the free market has significance beyond its economic functions. For it's as simple as you can understand this. For example, the layout means display, right? Display of the market symbolizes the hierarchical intergroup social relations in this region. So you can easily understand. If you'll read this, you'll definitely going to understand. I have discussed this in the last class as well. So I'm just giving you a kind of you know, a revision of this particular thing. So this is what you can write when, you know, in question, when in exams a question like that comes. According to Alfred Gell, the market has significance beyond, you know, beyond or, you know, over economic functions. What was the social perspective of this particular market? So layout of the market symbolizes the hierarchical intergroup social relations in this group. What does it mean? The first you know, point that I'm reading, it means the layout. You know, when Alfred Gell was observing that this particular market, he was, you know, what he was, you know, getting out of that market was, he was getting a display, he was getting a layout of the market, that people were sitting, you know, according to their caste, people were sitting according to their communities, tribals were sitting at one place, non-tribals were sitting at one place, the non-tribals were, you know, talking to the tribals in one way, but at the other end, you know, they were talking in different way to the non-tribals. So there are a lot of things that, you know, Alfred Gell discovered. So he said that uh, apart from the economic functions of the market, layout of the market symbolizes. So the display of the market was actually symbolizing, it was actually telling the hierarchy means the kind of, you know, the different stages that was set up in the market. So he's actually talking about all those things, right? So that was what actually happening there. So he was observing the hierarchical inter-group social relations in the region. Different social groups are located according to, I've already told you that the people are sitting according to the groups, you know, they belong to. And the quality of social relation are expressed in the kinds of goods and goods that are brought and sold. So the quality of social relation is expressed. So I've yesterday also I told you that tribals were, you know, selling the products from the forest, and the non-tribals were selling products from were selling kind of different products. So that's what, so interaction also, that you know, that was really important in that tribal and non-tribal communities. That was also being observed by the Alfred Gell. Okay, so now we can understand this new slide. So caste-based market and trading networks, right? So what happened? Let me see. Okay, so caste-based market and trading networks, right? Look, uh, when we are talking about markets, you know, uh, the display or the system of the market was very different in pre-colonial India. Means when Britishers were not there, the display was very much different, and the system or display of the market really changed when Britishers came. We can understand it in two different, you know, ways, right? Highlight the caste-based markets and trading networks in India. Look, earlier they used to be markets that were based on caste. Earlier, they used to be trading that were based on that were based on caste. Caste had a lot of influence on our Indian society, as you already know this. You know, we have discussed a lot about the caste. So what has happened here is that India was major. So now we are going to tell it. I've actually, this is in the question form, and you're going to understand it easily. Highlight the caste-based markets and trading networks in pre-colonial India. Look, we are just talking about the pre-colonial India when Britishers were not there, right? What used to be there in India, how the markets used to be there, and you're gonna feel the, you know, the influence of caste here also, right? India was a major manufacturer and exporter of handloom cloth and luxury silk, as well as the source of many other goods. For example, spices which were in great demand in Europe. Pre-colonial India had well-organized manufacturing centers as well as indigenous merchant groups, trading networks, and banking system. These traditional trading communities or castes had their own system of banking and credit. For example, hundi or bill of exchange, and what else? Okay, so let me excuse for a while. Okay, so trading committees were there, hundi or bill of exchange, which allowed merchants to engage in long distance trade. Nattu Kotai Chetiyars of Tamil Nadu, uh, Nakratha banks were based, joint family firms where trading and banking activities were organized through caste and kinship relationship. So what we are here we are talking about the pre-colonial India when Britishers were not there. Look what was happening in pre-colonial time. India had a lot of resources. India had spices. India used to export spices to European countries because look why India used to export a lot at that particular time. India didn't have industries. India didn't have factories here before colonial period. India didn't have factories, so India used to export all the resources. Those resources can be anything. Those resources can be indigo. Those resources can be silk. Those resources could be your spices. So India used to export all these things because all these things were in great demand in Europe. So India used to export it because India didn't have industries and manufacturing units where India could actually manufacture all these things, right? Or lead to a finished products. India couldn't do that, right? So that's what actually happening. Okay, but that doesn't mean trade were not there in India. Trades were definitely there in India. Pre-colonial India has well organized. So India has well organized manufacturing centers as indigenous merchants. Trading was there. It was not in large scale. It was small scale trading, and people used to produce and manufacture in a very less amount, right? There was a little bit of trading, and who was doing that trading? Most of the trading was done by Natukutai Chetiyars. Look, we are talking about caste-based markets, so it was obvious that we're going to talk about a particular caste. So which caste was actually dominating the trade in India before colonial India? So you can easily answer. Natukotai Chetiyars of Tamil Nadu used to dominate the trading setup in India before colonial period. I'm talking about the pre-colonial, setup or trading networks or caste based on markets. I'm talking about that particular thing. So India used to. And number 3 point that I've missed just now, these trading communities or caste had their own system of banking or credit. Example, hundi or village of exchange, which allowed merchants to engage in long distance trade. Now look, there is a term that has come here, and that term is hundi or bill of exchange. Look, people used to do long trading distance. At that time technology was not there. People could not easily transfer or supply money from one point to another. So what was happening at that particular time, people used to use this hundi. Now what is hundi? Hundi is a kind of small check, or you can say that it is a small paper on which two different traders sign on the same particular check, and they are engaged in a particular trade. And that was a kind of promise that they used to do between each other, right? That if suppose one trader who belongs to a particular caste, you can take the example of Natukutai Chitiyar. So suppose Natukutai Chitiyar trader of Tamil Nadu is sitting in Bombay, and the other one is sitting in suppose in Tamil Nadu, right? So how they're going to exchange the money? They're going to use this hundi. They're going to use this check. They're going to use that paper where they both are going to sign, and they're going to say that we're going to transfer this money to that particular trader. We're going to transfer that money to that particular. And remember that this exchange of bill, or this bill of exchange, or the check or paper that you can easily for understanding this thing, they used to use this bill of exchange, right? And there was it involved trust factor. And remember, trading before colonial India was only happening among a particular caste. People, they were not allowing the other people caste to enter their trade. So it was dominated mostly by the Natukutai Chitiyars of Tamil Nadu, right? So hundi means a kind of bill of exchange where two people are trading, and they belong to same caste, and they are trading among themselves only, and not giving enough chance to anyone else to start doing trade. So means that caste had a lot of influence in market, and people used to allow or support only to those people who belongs to their caste. So I'm sure you have understood all these 4 points, right? So how caste used to have its influence during colonial period, right? And how trading networks used to be there, right? India was exporting because India didn't have that manufacturing units, large scale manufacturing unit. India didn't have that large manufacturing industries and factories. So that's why India was exporting to Europe. Okay, so that's what used to happen. Okay, now moving on to the next slide. So this question also gives you the kind of same meaning. So you can really use this answer. You can use these points as well to write your answer. Trade and commerce. Commerce means kind of business, right? Trade and commerce operated through caste and kinship networks in India. I've already discussed you that traders had their business, and they always support the caste, the traders of the same caste. People used to trade in such way, right? Nowadays look at the present situation. uh, is anyone thinking about caste? No one is thinking about the caste nowadays. Caste has no influence in, has no impact on the market at this particular time. Caste has no impact on the market, but they used to be impact uh, at particular time, right? So trade and commerce operated through caste and kinship network. Pre-colonial India had well-organized indigenous merchant group. Who was that merchant group? Natukutai Chitayars was that merchant group, right? That India had before pre-colonial period. Okay, trading and networks and banking. They have had their own banking system. How you can say that they had their own banking system? I've told you the term hundi, bill of exchange, right? Suppose I'm sitting here, and you are sitting, at your home, and we're gonna check. I'm telling you about the hundi, right? We're gonna have a common piece of paper in which I'm gonna sign that I'm giving you, those goods, or I'm transferring 50,000 or whatever amount to you. So I'm gonna, write 50,000 on it, and I'm gonna sign. I'm gonna do my sign on it, and then I'm gonna give you that paper, or give you that paper through anyone else who's going to your house, right? So there, then that paper is going to reach to your house. You are also going to do your sign on it, and this is what, banking system is all about. That used to be happen at that particular time, because there was not there was no technology at that particular time where people could easily transfer money from one place to another. So that's what actually happening at that particular time. That's the reason I'm telling you about the banking system that used to be there, and trading networks used to be there in the Natukotai Chedars of Tamil Nadu. So Nakratras, these are also the same tribal. I'm tribal. No, it's not tribal, but it's caste that used to be there in Tamil Nadu, and extensive caste-based serial network. So they had a lot of networks in India, and they all were belonging to the same caste, right? No other caste was actually allowed, or no actually no caste was actually, given that particular chance to start doing trading. So that's the reason we can say that at that particular time caste had a lot of influence in the trade. Traditional business communities in India include not only Vaishyas. I told you, the four varnas: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Vaishyas used to do trading. They were the merchant group, right? So not only Vaishyas, but also other groups with distinctive religious identities. Mostly Vaishyas were doing trades. Mostly that merchant group was doing trade, and there was some little bit of other identities that were doing trade, but they were not, highlighted that much as these Natukotai Chaitiyars or Vaishyas were highlighted other, because they had a good network. They had a big network of doing trade in the market, right? Exchange of credit, I've already told you that exchange of credit through hundi, right? Hundi is a bill of exchange. You got to remember it, because you have to really use this term in your answer writing, right? Exchange of credit through hundi encourage merchant to engage in a long distance trade. I've already told you that how they use this bill of exchange in the long distance trade, right? So it was a kind of promise between two people, used to have mutual understanding between them. So I'm sure you have understood the trade and commerce, and how caste had its role in kinship networks and all those things, right? Okay, now we're gonna understand the Jajmani system. Okay, now I've got two definitions. I've got two meanings to tell you Jajmani system. Now, it is non-market exchange of products, goods, and services within the Indian village without the use of money, based on caste system and customary practice. The second definition that I've actually added in this slide is Jajmani system, or Jajman system was an economic system mostly notable found in the villages of India, in which lower caste perform various functions for upper caste and receive grain or other goods in return. So mostly what was happening at that particular, this is a kind of trade. This term has come, Jajmani system. This is kind of a trade, that is actually, or I can say that it's kind of an exchange of things, that is happening, and we can really relate it to the, I would say, economy or economic system. We can really relate it to this. So what was happening at that particular time? A particular caste was working for a particular caste. I would not um, go really specific into it. A particular caste was working for other caste, um, and they were getting something, in the form of goods. They were getting the goods in the form of work that they were putting in for a particular caste. They used to be exchange of goods. Remember that, not exchange of money, because at that time there was no flow of money. People used to just have a barter system. I'm sure you are aware of the barter system. Barter system means when there is exchange of goods, when there is exchange of you would say food grains, rice, feed, or fruits, vegetables, or any kind of goods, right? People were actually exchanging all these things at that particular time, because there was not so much money involved in the market at that particular time. So people used to exchange all those things. I'm sure you have understood the Jajmani system, that people used to exchange goods among themselves, and obviously the one particular caste was getting the benefits, or getting something to earn through the services that they were providing to the upper caste people, right? So that was what this money system was all about. It was actually mentioned in your textbook, and it was important term, right? Okay. So now we can understand okay, characteristics of this money system. So mostly when we talk about the Jajmani system, it has only one characteristic that we always talk about. The barter system means people were exchanging food grains, rice and wheat and all those things among themselves, right? There was not enough flow of money at that particular time, right? So this is what Jajmani system was all about, and characteristics of Jajmani system. Obviously there is, look what is written here. There is not always cash payment. There is not always cash payment to Kameen. You can say that people who belongs to a particular caste. This is what Kameen is all about. So there is not always cash payment to Kameen for his work. Instead, there is a payment done in the form of things which is needed by the occupational servants. This system was popularly known as barter system, where the Jajmani duty was to take care of Kameen needs. So people, they really needed all those things for their survival. So that's why the Jajmani system was going on at that particular time. It is simply exchange of goods, right? Between two castes, or between two groups, or between two sections of the society. It's as simple as you can understand it. Look, I always give you a very simple understanding at the end of the every concept, so that you can find the easy way to actually come out of every concept, so that you don't find difficult. We don't have to get confused with the different statements that are there. We actually need to understand what is written here, and this definitely going to understand give us a good understanding of the things, right? Okay. So let me see, should I continue or not? So we have done what we have done today. We started with the observation of the village that Alfred Jell did, and we also understood this, and caste-based market that used to be there in the pre-colonial India. Trading networks used to be there in pre-colonial Indian, Jajmani system, all those things. Okay, so we are just today we're gonna do two more slides. Okay, then we're gonna end this session. Okay, so colonialism and the emergence of new markets. So just until now I was telling you the market that used to be there in the pre-colonial India, that the caste used to have a lot of influence and all those things, right, that I've discussed with you. Now we can understand what happened when Britishers came in India, what happened when advent of colonialism actually start coming, when there was introduction of colonialism in India. Then what happened to the markets? Did we witness, or did we experience any change? Yes, we definitely experienced all those changes, and we're going to understand that, right? Colonialism and the emergence of new market. Look, right from here, this slide, we were talking about the trade in pre-colonial India. This was also the same thing. Pre-colonial India, we were talking about the caste, what was that? Natukotai Chetiyars of Tamil Nadu. I'm talking about the pre-colonial. So this was also a slide that was talking about the trading pre-colonial India. This was also talking about the same thing. And the Jajmani system that used to be there in the pre-colonial India. This is also very important. And then characteristics, obviously one characteristic, barter system, not always cash payment, but sometimes exchange of goods as well. So until then we understood trading in pre-colonial India in the four slide, this one, and this one, right? Now we're going to understand these two slides. We're going to understand the impact of colonialism, that impact of colonialism on the Indian market. Okay. So I'm going to read it. The advent of colonialism in India produced major upheavals. Upheavals means radical change, extreme change that came in the market, right? So advent means introduction. So the introduction of colonialism, listen me properly, you got to be very alert in the class, okay? So the advent of colonialism in India produced major upheavals in the economy. Economy means economic structure. Economic structure means uh, markets that is based on production and consumption. That is what economy is all about. Don't get confused with it. It's a structure where consumption and production, sellers and producer are there. This is what economy is all about. Okay, flow of money, all those things, right? So the advent of colonialism means the introduction of colonialism in India produced major upheavals. Means a great change that come in the economy, causing disruptions in production, causing disruption. When I'm talking about causing disruption in the in this particular, I would say, okay, I have to see, am I going the right way? Okay, so okay, so what was happening, the introduction of colonialism in India produced major upheavals in the economy. So there was a lot of change that came in the market, causing disruption means causing great disorder came in the market. The market start running not in the way that it used to be run in the pre-colonial India. So causing disruptions means causing disorder in production, trade and agriculture. A well-known example is the demise of the handloom industry due to the flooding of the market with cheap manufactured textiles from England. So I told you when I started this particular lecture, I told you that India used to export a lot of things. India used to export a lot of things to Britishers, and from where those resources were used, and they used to be finished products that used to come back in India. So what happened when Britishers start manufacturing, certain fabrics, certain crops, or certain cloths, they used to import all those things back to India, right? So what was happening? A well-known example is the demise means the handloom industry. Handloom means the manual labor that people were doing at that particular time. People were actually using a kind of machines that were totally being used by hand. People using all those things, but that didn't have that kind of production that Britishers were producing. They were producing a lot of things in very less time. So that really results in the demise of the handloom industry that was there in India. It actually totally collapsed due to the flooding. Due to the lot of flooding means a lot of things that were actually coming from the Britishers market, right, at that particular time. So that is what happened straight away with the advent of colonialism. Number second point, in the colonial era, India began to be more fully linked to the world capitalist economy. Before being colonialized by the Britishers, India had a major supply of manufactured goods to the world market. So before Britishers, India was just exporting, and was not actually involved in producing large scale products, was not actually involved in producing large products or humongous products at that particular time. Nothing was happening like that. But the moment Britishers came in India, India start manufacturing, and start getting a lot of manufactured goods from Britain as well, right? After number third point, after colonialism, she became a source of raw materials, right? India was exporting before colonialism also, but what happened in Britishers' time? They started exporting, on large scale. They started exporting almost everything that India had in its resource list, right? So India was exporting a lot, and they were giving back the finished products back to India, and that really changed the entire trading system in India. Okay, after colonialism, she means India. India became a source of raw materials and agriculture products, and consumer of manufactured products. Obviously, India was consuming manufactured products that was coming from the British, that was coming from the England, that was coming from the Britain, right? Both largely for the benefit of both largely for the benefit of industrializing England. At that particular time, industries were very much set up there. So it was actually benefiting the industries in England because their finished products were being utilized by India. So India India was actually not in stage to manufacture their own finished products. So that's the reason India was actually importing and using their products. Okay, so number fourth point, new groups, especially the Europeans, entered into trade and business, sometimes in alliance with existing merchant communities, and some cases by forcing them out. So when Britishers came, before Britishers, I told you that only Natukotai Chetiyars or some other castes were doing trades. But the moment Britishers came in India, there were other, I would say there were other castes also that started involving in doing trade, right? So new groups, look at that, what is written here, new groups, especially when the European entered, new groups start doing business, and they were doing alliance, they were, they were doing their business, by cooperating with Britishers also. So many people, start, doing business. They entered into that merchant communities, and in some cases by forcing them out. New sometimes in alliance with existing. Some castes were actually using the support of Britishers, and some were not using the support of Britishers. Some were doing trade on their own basis, right? But some were actually using the support of Britishers. So new groups came in, right? New groups came in, and that start existing in the merchant communities, right? I'm sure you have understood all these 4 points. I'm just left with 1 minute and few seconds. So I think the time has come to say you goodbye. We'll continue the same chapter in the next class. Okay. Now I'm gonna have your class not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow. Okay. So I think we should stop here just now. And so can you text me? Hurry up if you've understood. Can you text me? Because we are left with only 1 minute, or maybe less than that. Can you text me? Hurry up. Okay. So, okay. So, until then, take care all. Stay safe, stay at home, and study hard. It's a very good time for all of you to study hard, right? So, study hard, study at home, and stay safe, stay healthy, and uh, I would say God bless you all. Okay. And utilize your time. Okay. Until then, take care all. Bye bye.